Today we're back on Escape from Tarkov's PVE mode, and I wanted to showcase off one thing that you'll want to take advantage of in future events, because we are going to take a look at some of the money that we made from the Christmas event. I understand that is nearly 3 months ago, but in terms of going future in your own Escape from Tarkov PVE mode, if you're wanting to get exclusive items that are only available during limited times, how you can either get those and also how you can make a ton of money if you do decide to get those as well. So that's kind of what this video is about. I'm going to show you how much we made from simply just doing a couple of things with the market, and also give you an overview of what's coming on the channel as well, because it's been a while. I took a bit of a break so I could just recoup some energy and sort out a couple of things in real life, but we'll be back to Escape from Tarkov content and maybe throwing in a couple of other games if you're interested in actually seeing an ape like me play other games as well that are similar to Tarkov. They're not going to be random ass games that you probably aren't that interested in. So if you like that, then make sure to like this video. But without further ado, let's jump in to actually see what I'm talking about with regards to the Christmas event. So obviously the Christmas event brought in the fireworks. Now these can be used in the game still, so they're the Christmas kind of boxes in the game. You've also got the killer helmet with the Santa hat on, which is actually one of the items that I bought a couple of so I could sell them later on down the line, because obviously they're a limited time exclusive item that was available for Christmas, and after Christmas has ended and the event ends, they're not going to be able to be found, and therefore supply and demand and people looking to get their hands on some of those exclusive items, as well as the fact that if they're ever lost in raid, they may not come back. If they, you know, get depleted in energy, if people are actually using them, if they end up with 0 durability, obviously people aren't going to want to buy them. And of course you can see there's also the body armor from Killer as well. Now in terms of how much we bought each one of these for, I'll let you know. So these helmets, I actually found a few in raid, so I think we got 2 where we actually just took out Killer himself. And of course you get the body armor from Killer as well. And now the helmets, when we were actually looking at them, were about 2 million rubles to actually pick up. And the actual body armor here, which is the 6B 13, was actually worth around about 700k rubles. So if we take a look at the price of these, obviously this is condition 100, so there's not going to be any, but you can see it's up at 2.5 million. Now these have been up for a little bit of time, and it's unlikely that these will sell quickly because they are more rare items, but the value of them, and you know, it's going to just take a little bit longer to actually sell exclusive items, as there'll be, you know, reduced amount of demand, but the supply is basically 0 in terms of how many are coming into the game. So if you've got yourself a decent durability event item, then what you can do is you can sell it on the flea to be able to make some profit if you want to make some profit, as well as you can go ahead and buy a load of these items, provided that the flea market commission on those items is not crazy high, so you can make a load of money. So if I go ahead and find my plate, which is down here in the actual Christmas backpack that we got, we're going to have to take these plates out real quick and take that. And if we check out how much commission we're going to have to pay, if we list it for 2.2 mil, so 150k commission, if we were to list it for that, we paid 750k for it. Roughly, it was like 600 to 700k to actually pick one of these up. And so if we take away the price, it will be roughly about 1.1 million profit, or about 100% profit on what we actually paid for the item itself. So in terms of an investment, having double your money, if you bought some of these and you sell them later on, and bearing in mind that this is actually reduced from what we probably could sell it for, we could probably sell it for 3 million at the time, if that 2.5 million sells. And of course you're going to make a ton of money just from these exclusive event items, and that's not the only one. That is not the big one. Now 2 million was what we paid for the Masker helmet, and if we take a look at the price of the Mashka helmet, it is currently 5 million. There's only one on the market as well, and so if we take into account we paid about 2 million for it, and it's currently sat at 5 million on the market, and considering there is such little demand that all it takes is one person to really want that rare item for it to go down in price. And so if we list this for say 4.5 million, you pay slightly higher on the fee. So it's sat at around 4 million is what we'd actually make from it. We paid 2 million or just under that. I think it was like 1.8 million when we bought it. And so we'll make yet again almost 100% profit on this item if we were to sell it for 4.5 million. Now that does take into account you have to sell it, but that's fine. So that is kind of one way that you can make money with some of these events if you want to make yourself some rubles for future times and that sort of stuff. If you're interested in making yourself some money on the game, if you're maybe struck for cash, or maybe you just want to go for that farming simulator for the money and just watch the number go up. Of course, if we spent a load of our money on buying all of these, we could not only take some of the supply out of the market that we would own ourselves, so it's not going to get supplied when the event ends, but also the fact that we're then going to have the majority of the demand, and we can list these over a period of time. And because these items are typically more expensive than your, for example, if you're buying bolts that are like 20k each, you're selling them for 25k, it takes a lot of bolts for every one of these that you buy. So the amount of time you're spending buying all of the bolts or what have you, it's going to take you a lot longer to buy and sell those items than, bulk buying a load of these, because you can quite easily spend 100 million by buying 20 of these helmets at the time that it was released. Then it's going to take you to buy 100 million worth of bolts at 20k each. You get my drift. It will take you a lot longer and of course more space in your inventory, and it's just a bit more of a pain to manage if you're doing that. Now, it does mean that you're not getting some of those short-term gains that you can do with some of the lower tier items, which you can do if you want to. But in terms of long-term profit, these bigger, rarer items that are worth more initially are going to be the way that you can make a lot of money. And if you've got 1 billion rubles like me, you can spend quite a lot of those rubles on buying these items. Now, I want to be fully transparent that, in the future, maybe they don't go up by 100%, maybe they don't go up at all. So there is an element of risk when it comes to these event and rare exclusive items. But given the supply and demand that is typically seen within Escape from Tarkov, it's a pretty safe bet that these are going to go up in price, or at very least maintain the exact price that when you bought them during the event when they're supplied on the market. So provided that they go out of the supply, then you're going to be able to make some money on these items regardless of the flea commission. So that is kind of one thing that I did do. Of course, picking up as many of the event exclusive kind of items. If you're a bit of a collector like me, then you want to have some of these because maybe they never come back into the game and you've just got them on your account if you're a bit of a collector. And of course the backpack as well. These things were worth like absolutely nothing at the time. They were like literally 60k, and this one is 5 million right now. So yeah, 5 million rubles for a backpack, and I think we had a couple of them probably somewhere in a lot of my boxes, with some of the other helmets that we had as well. Now, that isn't the only thing. Now, when it comes to some of the more useful things, when it comes to non-event items that you can also make money on that may also feature in events, we found that there was a ton of sugars being supplied during the Christmas event because they were found all over the floor. And it meant that every single sugar that we bought was costing around about 30k to pick up one sugar. And so what I did, knowing that sugars at the time prior to the event were worth about 200k each, and they went down to 30k, I bought a load of sugars and we stocked up a thick items case with a ton of sugars. And so currently they're sat at around about 160k, and so essentially we've made 130k per item. And if we take a look at the flea commission, because obviously you have to factor that in when you're looking at how much money you did actually make, if we list up one of these, how much are we going to pay in flea commission? It's usually not that much, 8.8k. So you're making about 120k from one of these from what I bought it at about 30k each. For those sugars, we did a video on it at the time, so if you use them, you kept hold of them until now, you are quids in. And so we've basically 4x'd our money with the sugars, although, you know, at the time you spend maybe a couple million on buying all of these sugars, so you're only really making about 10 million for an entire box really of all of these. So although it is good, we could have filled this with all of those killer helmets and had an entire box of those and probably made 50 million. So you get my point in terms of storage space, and although you can make more money per item, it actually comes down to storage space and ease of actually making those items fit into your stash, especially if you've got reduced stash space like I actually do on the non kind of pay to win edition of PVE, which I'm doing a series on if you're interested in seeing that later on down the line. But an entire box of all of these is going to make us a ton of money, 120k per one. So that's something that we did. And then also we bought ourselves a few of, there's some more sugar that I obviously bought at the time. And somewhere in here, there should be, I think it's actually this junk box, we bought ourselves a few of the toothpaste. Now these very much fluctuate in price and depend on, you know, because of the fact that they are used in some of the crafts, they can go anywhere from like what you're seeing here, about 40k, all the way up to like 200k, maybe even 300k, depending on the time that you're actually watching and actually checking the prices. They really do fluctuate. So at the time of the event, they were down at about 30k. They were found all over the place. And so we haven't made anywhere near as much money on the toothpaste as it currently stands. But if we were to wait a little bit, I've seen these at about 80k recently, all the way up to about 100k. So not as much money, but still a decent chunk of money that we made just from the event items that are found more commonly within the raids during event periods. And also just if you see prices go down because of an influx of some event, whether it be a Christmas or limited time event, regardless of what it is, if you're seeing you get rewarded with, for example, marked keys from an event, then that is also something that you might want to consider when you're thinking about potential making money off of the market. It's simply just supply, demand. Is there more supply now? What was the price previously? What is it now? Should you buy it? Probably, unless, of course, it's a permanent change where then maybe they've increased the permanent spawn rate of mark dream keys or key cards or whatever, then maybe it's not worth actually buying them. But if it's a limited time change, that is what you're going to want to do. And that is basically what I did in order to make a ton of money. Now you can see the Bitcoins have definitely come down in price. So we sold all of ours back in the day for about 1.4 million rubles at the time. These are 604k at the minute. So definitely not worth holding on to those. If they go super high, anything around 900k, I typically just sell them when I get them. As low as 604k, I'd probably keep them and then just store them in the stash. You can use them for crafts and trades as well, so it's probably not worth actually getting rid of them. But that's some of the things that I do for these limited time events, and I thought I'd cover it since, you know, it was an interesting topic that I thought was interesting to see just how much money you can make. And also, you know, if you want to get yourself and save yourself money, if you're wanting to get those items, get them when the event is actually on. Do not wait until after the event. They're going to almost double in price if you want to buy them. So thank you very much for watching. There will be a video tomorrow where we're covering some more PvE content, and in fact very soon we're going to be starting a complete PvE series where I start with absolutely nothing. We don't have increased stash space or anything. We are playing on the bog standard, the very minimum edition of PvE with nothing on it, and we're going to see how well we can fare compared to the pay to win edition with all of the bonuses and EOD and unheard edition, etc. that this account has. And of course, it should be an interesting one to complete, and you can follow along, watch with me, and we'll kind of set some goals, and there's a few different things in there that will be interesting for those of you wanting to watch Escape from Tarkov. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.